Happy video day, guys. Today's video is going to be a first impression of a new NYX eyeshadow palette that I am honestly telling you guys that I think it was such a beautiful color selection. I loved a lot of things about this palette, so that's why I decided that I wanted to just go ahead and buy it. So the palette that I'm talking about is part of a new collection that they're coming out with, and it's called the Machinist Collection. And the palette that we're going to specifically be talking about today is the Ignite version. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my first impression thoughts while creating this eye look using this palette. I'm also going to show you guys the swatches, and then I'll let you guys know if I think that this palette is worth a try or if you should just pass on it. So if you guys are new here, my name is Christina Brooke and this is the GLAMRANCH. I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button so you can be part of the GLAMRANCH family. And without keeping you waiting, let's get into this new palette. And I remember saying, wow, what a cool collection from NYX. NYX sometimes is a hit or miss. Sometimes for me, some palettes I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. And then sometimes I'm like, ee. So NYX has recently been calling my attention with a few different eyeshadow palettes. One of them was their large colorful eyeshadow palette that they came out with this year that I thought was very pretty. And then this collection came out, and this is called the Machinist Collection. And when I saw this collection, I said, that's a cool collection. So first, let me give you guys a few ideas of what I'm thinking about this palette after using it. I have to tell you guys, I am pleasantly surprised. Now, I'm going to tell you that because I assumed that this was going to be a good palette. Like I didn't think it was going to be that great. I thought it was going to be good. And I think that that was just me thinking, oh, well, it's NYX and it's drugstore, so it's probably going to be good. So in this collection, there's actually 3 different eyeshadow palettes. And when I was going to pick like exactly which one I wanted to pick for this review, I was actually looking at one called Grind, which I'll throw it up here, which I thought was really, really pretty. The only thing that I noticed is it looked like the type of palette that probably photographs a little bit better and because of the colors in it, and maybe on the eyes would be a little bit harder for people to work with. And then there was another one called Steam, and Steam also looked like it was really pretty, but I felt like a combination of the two and more towards the hues that I think is going to be more universal was actually Ignite. Kind of more of a cool tone palette, but at the same time, I feel like the colors are aiming towards more towards the dark kind of hues. And I feel like sometimes those hues are a little bit easier to work with. And they do have a few mattes in here that actually have a bright hue to them, which actually works amazing for like an under base and to kind of like peek out through like the actual shadows. It does have shimmers in there for you guys who like to have sparkles on your eyes, and at the same time it has a lot of mattes. I really like the way that shadows performed on my eyes. I will tell you, when I was using these different colors, I really felt like they were working so good, and it really did shock me. When I started off this eye look, the first thing that I did was I went into the lightest color in here, number 1, and I went ahead and put that all over my eyelid, and that was just kind of like to cover up my concealer. And I really liked the fact that they had like a cream color in here for those of you who like to put concealer on your lids and then like to like put something all over it. I love the fact that there's a cream color in here. It does make it more of a travel friendly kind of palette that you can take with you place. Then what I did is I just jumped into a number 4 here, which is kind of like a peachy corally tone, which I love these color tones for your entire lid, especially when you're using purples or greens. But at first when I started putting it on, I was like, well, I don't know if this is too pigmented, but I will tell you, as I started working it up, it did start giving me pretty good color, and the color payoff ended up being pretty nice. I did have to dip into this one like 2 or 3 times to kind of get like a good color payoff, but I'm okay with that because these peachy tones, if you go in too heavy-handed, it could be just way too much. But I did love the color payoff that I got at the end. So then I just jumped into, it's like a light brown tone, and I went ahead and I added that a little bit to the crease, and that was just to kind of give a little bit of definition to the crease. I thought this color actually had a pretty good pigment. I wasn't sure if it was going to show up against the coral, and I think that it did, at least to do the definition that I really wanted it to do. So then I jumped into this greeny hue, and this green hue, I really like this a lot. It actually looked really nice when I was kind of putting it in the outer corner. It is like a matte hue, but I did like the way that it actually blended on the eye. Sometimes with these green colors, you can have a little bit of an issue with them blending, and to be honest, I honestly thought it blended pretty damn good. So I was actually pretty impressed with it. So it is more of a kind of like a darker green, so people can confuse that with a little bit muddy. It is not, it wasn't a muddy shadow. It just has more of one of those darker hues, which I actually really enjoy sometimes when I'm playing with eyeshadow. So I do love the shadow. Just because I wanted to use a lot of different colors, I decided to use this kind of like mauvish shade, and I wanted to add that one next to the green, which obviously is a little bit different. I just wanted to play with a bunch of different shadows, and they did blend into each other pretty good. I don't feel like they got muddy at all. I do think they blended well. I like the way they look. So I jumped into this like glistening kind of shadow up on the top that's like a foil shadow, and I added that into the inner corners and kind of like really made it pop. When I first used it, I feel like I was able to see it come up, and I said, well, do I have to spray my brush? And then I said, you know, let me just try spraying the brush. Maybe it'll even add some more boo. And when I sprayed the brush, it even added a little bit more foo, but at the same time, I will tell you guys, I think it worked pretty nice without even spraying my brush. So that was pretty impressive, because I do feel sometimes with these like kind of like foiled or shimmery kind of shadows, when you put them on, sometimes they don't give a big punch and you do have to spray them, but I felt like this one actually worked either way pretty damn good. For the lower lash line, I just went ahead and smeared over that corally shade all over the entire lash line, thought it worked really good, and then just grabbing into the green shade. On the outer half of my eye, I just went ahead and put that green shade, and I think that it honestly looked awesome. I finished off the look with some liner and mascara, and I have to tell you guys, I am very pleased with the way that the look came out. And I will tell you, after using the shadows, I do feel like I'm gonna be able to come up with some pretty damn cool eye looks with this shadow palette. Now, the hues in here are a little bit more on the darker side, so there isn't that many vibrant colors. If you guys like vibrant color shadow palettes, this is probably not the route for you. I do wanna let you guys know that for Nyx, being a drugstore brand, these palettes are $24.99, so they're not cheap. And for Nyx, which I remember Nyx being one of those brands that had very inexpensive eyeshadows, I felt like that was a pretty nice jump, a pretty nice price jump. If I really, really like a color selection, I would rather pay a little bit more money and get really good quality and maybe really good packaging than pay less money and end up having like a cheaper product that doesn't work as well. You do get 12 shades for $25. I don't think that's a bad price, especially for the fact that I do think the shadows worked really well. So I'm actually really happy with this eyeshadow palette. If you guys see, I not only love the fact that the entire outer packaging and everything has to do around machines and gears and stuff that you would not consider like makeup related. I love the fact that that was the theme of this collection. I just thought it was really cool. It was something different, something you don't think. So that definitely called my attention. I also was very intrigued by the fact that the outer packaging and everything kind of looked really high end. Like it kind of looked like it was put together well. When we're talking about the fact that this is a $25 eyeshadow palette, but it is a drugstore, look at this packaging though. This is a hard case and this is a nice designed package. And if you open it up, guys, inside, look at the size of this mirror. This is a nice size mirror. I think that this is a really great mirror. I loved it. I used it the entire time. I will probably use this mirror when I'm putting on other eyeshadows because I like the mirror a lot. I do think it's really cool about this shadow palette is instead of having like names, they're numbered 1 through 12. So let me go ahead and insert for you guys the swatches. So I will tell you guys that the mattes do not swatch that well. They kind of feel a little bit crumbly when you put them on when you're swatching them, but I'm telling you, when you put them on your eyes, I don't feel like they perform like that. Some of these foil shimmery kind of shades, I feel like maybe the purples swatched a little bit better than any of the other shades, but like I'm saying, on the eyes they look like they performed a little bit different than the swatches, so that's why I kind of like don't really pay attention to the swatches that much as long as they perform good on my eyes. But I did want to show you guys the colors so you guys can see the colors, how they look on the skin, because sometimes in the pan they translate different. So usually swatches for me are more about colors than they are about how they're going to perform. So I am going to use every single one of these shadows on my eyes before I give you guys a full review on how they look. I think that this is definitely worth you checking out if you guys are in the market for an eyeshadow palette. I personally do not think it is that expensive considering the quality of the eyeshadows. So a competitor in this price range that I would say would be ColourPop, and ColourPop's eyeshadows I think are a tad bit better than these, but I do think that these performed really nice, so I do like them a lot, and I do think that I'm going to be using this eyeshadow palette to create more looks, and I will be trying it out more for you guys. So if you guys are interested in buying this, I definitely think it's worth a try. So if you guys want to try it out, I think that this palette is definitely worth a try. So of course I will have everything linked in the description box if you guys are interested in purchasing this collection. I also do have a giveaway going on that I would love it if you guys wanted to participate and enter. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget, give me your thumbs up and leave me your comments below because it does help me a lot, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.